Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here, and thank you very much for tuning in. This is episode number 30. Yes, the big 3-0 of TST's season number 2. I think it's technically season 2. I don't know. When I rebooted this thing after a little bit of a layoff, I called it season 2, and I just rolled with it, I guess. And now it's on to episode number 30. It's hard to believe that I put this many up, and I hope you keep enjoying it and tuning in, because it sure has been a lot of fun, both prepping and getting this show all together and putting the elements in and putting the graphics in and everything else that kind of goes into this whole thing. And I really do hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys get a lot of info out of it, and appreciate what I'm doing, and I appreciate the fact that you appreciate it. So thank you very much for that. Yes, I'm your host, Andrew Rogers, and this is another episode of TST. Like I said, number 30. It's a jam-packed episode, as always. It's you know what? There's going to come a time, I understand, where there will be less things that I could talk about because, well, things aren't happening as frequently as they are now. But I will do my very best to make sure that this is jam-packed with information and updates and cover what's important to people. If there is something out there that you would like to see covered on TST and on a weekly basis, please drop me a line. At the end of the show, there's a social media section where each of my social media information will come up for you, and you can check that out. That's how you can get a hold of me. If you want to see your sports team, sports league, something covered on the show, I'll be more than happy to connect with you and get set up and get that whole process underway. But without further ado, let's start today's show. We kick it off with the Intercounty Baseball League. On the schedule this past week, it was first we had the Barrie Baycats down the Burlington Herd. 2-1 was the final in that one. Kitchener Panthers downing the London Majors 10-6. Guelph versus Barrie was postponed this past week, as well as Hamilton and Burlington due to weather. Same with Barrie's third game this past week. They only played one. The other two were unfortunately postponed. Their two matchups coming against Guelph and Brantford. Kitchener downing the Hamilton Cardinals 3-2 in a nail-biter there. And the Toronto Majors continued their perfect reign on the IBL at beating the Burlington Herd 7-5. Burlington is 0-4 on the year. As we look at the standings, like I said, Toronto Majors out in front. They are 4-0 on the season. Barrie Baycats second at 3-0. You have the Kitchener Panthers at 3-2. The Hamilton Cardinals at 1-1. The London Majors at 1-3. The Guelph Royals at 0-1. The Brantford Red Sox at 0-1, and the Burlington Herd, as mentioned, at 0-4. Upcoming schedule in the IBL kind of goes like this. We start on Thursday, May the 24th. We kick off the week. Toronto at Kitchener to take on the Panthers. That's a 7:30 pitch. Friday, May the 25th, sees the Brantford Red Sox in London to take on the London Majors. That's a 7:35 start. On Saturday, May the 26th, with 3 games on schedule. Hamilton is in Barrie at 2, Toronto in Burlington at 1:05, and London is in Guelph at 1. On Sunday, May the 27th, you have Guelph at Brantford at 2 o'clock, Burlington at Kitchener at 2 o'clock as well. Barrie is in London to take on the Majors at 1:05, and Hamilton Cardinals visit the Toronto Maple Leafs at 2 o'clock. And the week wraps Tuesday, May the 29th. It's Hamilton. The Cardinals are in Guelph to take on the Royals. That is a 7:30 start. Yes, the Intercounty Baseball League, if you happen to get out to any of these games, they are truly fantastic games, and they are a lot of fun for the family and the whole shindig. So bring them all out and enjoy some good old-fashioned intercounty baseball. It's in their 100th season, and they got some great stuff planned in games. So make sure to check that out. It should be a lot of fun. We turn our attention now to the conclusion of the 2018 World Hockey Championships. Yes, so the quarterfinals went down like this. It was Canada over Russia 5-4. They moved on to the semifinals. The USA defeating the Czech Republic 3-2 to also advance to the semifinals. Sweden taking a 3-2 win over Latvia, and it was Switzerland in an upset over first place Finland 3-2. That sees the semifinals shake out like this. It was Sweden up against the USA, Canada against Switzerland. Sweden dominating the USA early on to advance to the gold medal game, sending the USA to the bronze. While in the other matchup, it was Switzerland in a huge upset victory over the Canadians, 3-2, to advance to the gold medal game where they would meet Sweden. In the bronze medal game, the USA were just too much for Canada in this tournament. In the bronze medal game, they defeated the Canadians 4-1 to take the bronze medal. While in the gold medal game, it was Sweden over Switzerland. The final in the shootout, Sweden winning their second consecutive World Hockey Championship. A great tournament, though, for the Swiss. They can hold their heads high. They had an unbelievable tournament, and it results in a silver. Yeah, so incredible World Hockey Championship again. It's incredible because you had the NHL representation, and it lived up to the hype. Canadians, obviously, disappointed by a fourth-place finish, but there's only room to improve, and they know what they have to do next time the World Hockey Championships and the Olympics and so on and so forth roll around. So it should be fun to monitor that and continue to check that out. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we have the Ontario Senior B Lacrosse League and its segment on the Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars. Check that out on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here, episode 30 of season number 2. I am your host, Andrew Rogers. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. We've now moved on to the segment in the program where we talk about the Ontario Senior B Lacrosse League, more specifically, the Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars. Unfortunately, the Senior B North Stars were not in action this past May long weekend, but there were 2 games in hand. Let's get you caught up on the results on those. First off, it was the Brooklyn Merchants downing the Ennismore James Gang 15-11. Brooklyn improving to 2-1. We'll talk about the standings in a moment. Secondly, it was Six Nations in an upset win over the Oakville Titans, previously unbeaten Oakville Titans. They downed them 15-13 was the final in that one. Oakville and Six Nations are tied atop the standings as we turn over there. The OSBLL standings, Oakville and Six Nations lead the way 3-1 apiece. You have Owen Sound Senior B North Stars at 2-1, Brooklyn Merchants at 2-1, Ennismore James Gang at 1-4, and the Kitchener Velocity looking for their first win, 0-3. They'll get their chance to do so this upcoming weekend. Yes, that's right. As we look at the upcoming schedule for this weekend, Friday, May the 25th, it's the Kitchener Velocity into Owen Sound to take on the Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars at the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center. That is an 8 o'clock start. It's the Owen Sound's home opener, and it should be an absolute blast. You want to be there. You don't want to miss it. That is for certain. Saturday, then, May 26th, you have the Kitchener Velocity. Then they travel to Ennismore to take on the Ennismore James Gang. That is an 8 o'clock start as they play back-to-back road contests this week in search of their first win of the season. And then finally on Sunday, May the 27th, it's Six Nations in Owen Sound to take on the Owen Sound the Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars. That is a 4 p.m. matinee affair at the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center. Make sure to get tickets for that as well. Also on Sunday, there is another game. It is Ennismore at Oakville to take on the Titans. That is a 7 o'clock start. Yes, folks, you don't want to miss the Owen Sound Senior B Liuna Local 1059 North Stars home opener. For a little taste, we got a hype video that the North Stars sent out. We're going to play for you now. Here it is.
North Stars fans, time to get hyped for the home opener Friday, May 25th, when the Liuna Local 1059 Owen Sound Senior B North Stars take on the KW Velocity. Game brought to you by Bergeron Automotive. And don't forget to sign up for the Owen Sound Senior B North Stars Golf Tournament June 2nd at Scenic City. $100 per player, golf cart included. Book now before it sells out. Follow the North Stars on social media or visit their website. North Stars Senior B Lacrosse, the fastest game on 2 feet.
If you're not hyped up for the home opener like I am, I don't know what's wrong with you, but it should be a dandy. Like I said, Owen Sound Liuna Local 1059 Senior B North Stars home opener this week against the Kitchener Velocity on Friday at 8 o'clock. Make sure to get your tickets and make sure to get your butt down there and watch some fantastic lacrosse action. We're going to take one quick break. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We move on now where we want to talk about the 2018 Memorial Cup tournament that's being held in Regina this week and into the weekend. It's got underway. We're into day number 6. That's right, the final day of the round robin. Let's get you caught up, though, however, on how we got here. First matchup had the Hamilton Bulldogs taking on the host Regina Pats. It was Regina Pats coming out 3-2 was the final to take the first round robin game over the Hamilton Bulldogs. A very tight contest, but Regina ultimately coming out on top 3-2. Second game, day number 2, saw the Acadia Bathurst Titan down the Swift Current Broncos of the WHL. 3-2 was the final in that nail-biter as well. Day number 3 saw the Acadia Bathurst Titan again in action on back-to-back days. They down the Regina Pats 8-6. Titans had a massive lead in this game. Regina almost coming back, but the Acadia Bathurst Titan ultimately prevailed. 8-6 was the final. Day number 4 saw the Hamilton Bulldogs taking on the Swift Current Broncos. Bulldogs coming out on top 2-1. Excellent contest between two very, very good teams. Bulldogs ultimately prevailing 2-1, grabbing their first win of the round robin tournament. And then finally, day number 5, last night had the Hamilton Bulldogs edge out a 3-2 victory thanks to a Robert Thomas power play goal a minute into the third period. They hold on 3-2 for the final. Hamilton Bulldogs and Acadia Bathurst Titan finished the round robin portion of the tournament at 2-1. Still left to be decided, however, is day number 6. That goes today. Regina goes up against Swift Current this evening with a lot on the line. The Regina Pats, with a win, would pull into a 3-way tie with the Hamilton Bulldogs and Acadia Bathurst Titan, ultimately eliminating the Swift Current Broncos, who would finish the round robin at 0-3. However, if the Swift Current Broncos win, they would finish 1-2 in the tournament, tied with the Regina Pats. They would play a tiebreaker game on Thursday, May the 24th at 8 o'clock. And if the Regina Pats, Acadia Bathurst Titan, and Hamilton Bulldogs all finish in a 3-way tie, it would go to goal differential. The best percentage would get a automatic bye into the final. The other two teams would play in a semifinal on Friday, with the championship of the Memorial Cup going this Sunday, May the 27th at 7 o'clock. It's been an unbelievable tournament. A lot of fantastic talent all the way around. The Acadia Bathurst Titan is actually a huge surprise to me. Very unknown to me because they play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, a league that I haven't really followed a ton of this season. But they have proven that they are out to win this thing, and they have been very, very competitive. But it's even keel. With Hamilton beating Acadia Bathurst Titan last night 3-2, it's anybody's tournament right now. The Regina Pats can still get in there, and a Swift Current Broncos win tonight over the Regina Pats can get them into at least that tiebreaker to give them a shot at the ultimate championship that would go down on Sunday. Should be a lot of fun. We look forward to wrapping it on next week's episode of TST, so make sure to check out for that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here, and thank you very much for watching. We've reached a point in the program now where we want to talk about the 2018 NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. We had a series conclude and one still going, and it should be decided in a win or go home. Game 7 tonight. That goes between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. That means the other series is over. And, oh yeah, baby, let's take a look at this. The Vegas Golden Knights are moving on to the Stanley Cup Final in their inaugural season. They are the third team to do so. First team since the 1969 St. Louis Blues. Yes, the Vegas Golden Knights downing the Winnipeg Jets in 5 games. A massive 2-1 victory in game number 5 sees them move on. They dropped the first game of the series 4-2 at the hands of the Jets, but however would rally and roll off 4 straight wins to take this series in 5 games. Marc-Andre Fleury has been absolutely fantastic for the Vegas Golden Knights. In my opinion, he is the runaway favorite to win the Conn Smythe. I think he wins it even if they lose. He's been that good so far in these 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs. And over on the east side, as mentioned, it's a win-or-go-home Game 7 between the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. This has been a back-and-forth game. Washington taking the first 2 on the road. Tampa taking the next 3, 2 of those on the road, in a 3-2 victory at home in game number 5, setting up a do-or-die game number 6 for the Washington Capitals, and they prevail with a big 3-0 victory, setting up this crucial game number 7, and it emanates from the Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida. So that should be a lot of fun. What we also know at this point is that the Vegas Golden Knights will be in the Stanley Cup Final. The schedule has been released. Obviously, we don't know, however, who will have home ice advantage at this point. If Tampa Bay wins, they would have home ice. I believe if Washington wins, Vegas would have home ice in the Stanley Cup Final. The schedule goes like this. First game will go Monday, May the 28th at 8 o'clock. Game number 2, Wednesday, May the 30th at 8. Saturday, June 2nd at 8 o'clock will be game number 3. All these games are at 8 o'clock if you haven't figured that out already. Game number 4, Monday, June the 4th. Game 5 will go Thursday, June 7th. Game 6, if necessary, Sunday, June 10th. And Game 7, if necessary, if it happens to come to that, will go Wednesday, June 13th at 8 o'clock. That is when the Stanley Cup will be handed out. We move over now to the American Hockey League playoff story. First series we happen to look at here is the Rockford IceHogs and the Texas Stars. They are 3 games into this series, with the Texas Stars leading 3-0 and looking for the sweep. They will have their first opportunity to do so Thursday, May the 24th in Rockford at 8 o'clock. They have taken the first 3 games of this series by scores of 4-2, 3-2 in overtime, and again 6-5 in overtime last night, thanks to a Curtis McKenzie centering pass that was deflected in past the Rockford IceHogs goalie in overtime, 6-5. Former Maple Leaf defenseman Cody Franson actually ended up tying the game for the Rockford IceHogs late in the third period to send it into overtime, but Texas ultimately prevails to take a 3-0 series lead. The second series is over on the east side. That is continuing the Eastern Conference Final between the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and the Toronto Marlies. Marlies actually out on top in this series through 2 games. They have a 2-0 series lead thanks to a 3-2 overtime victory in game number 2. The series now shifts to Lehigh Valley for game number 3, which will go Wednesday tonight, May 23rd at 7:05 in Lehigh Valley. The Phantoms loading up for game number 3. They have recently added both Morgan Frost, the stud out of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and Carter Hart, WHL goaltender of the year for the Everett Silvertips. So they are loading up for a chance, but it could be too little, too late. Game number 4 will go Friday, May the 25th in Lehigh Valley. Game 5, if necessary, Saturday, May the 26th in Lehigh Valley. And then the final 2 games of the series, Games 6 and 7, again, if necessary, will both emanate from Toronto on Monday, May the 28th, and Wednesday, May the 30th. Yes, we also want to look at your TST NHL Playoff Bracket Challenge standings update. We have Blake B in the lead. He has 230 points. He is maxed out. He cannot have any points go further. He is here because of the Vegas Golden Knights advancing all the way to the Stanley Cup final. He had on his bracket that they would lose to Boston, so he cannot gain any more points. He is maxed out at 230. He has the clubhouse lead, if you will. Paul I is in second place at 190. Butch C at 195 apiece for Paul I and Butch C. Joey A is in fourth place, 185. Mike F at 185. All four of those players are maxed out on points, meaning that Joey A and Mike F will miss out on the money. You have to be in the top three to get into the money. AR number 2 has 180. He has Vegas winning the entire thing, so he could essentially win the pool if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup. Joshua C is at 175. Rob B at 160. Jessica R at 155 and Andrew C at 155. Here are your rest of your totals. It should be a very interesting finish to what has been an unbelievable Stanley Cup playoffs thus far. The dream continues for the Vegas Golden Knights. You can't say enough about these guys. They continue to defy the odds, and they continue to impress. And at what point do we stop saying we're surprised by what they're doing? You know what? They could very well come out next year and miss the Stanley Cup playoffs completely. That has happened before, folks. It could happen again. But live in the now for the Vegas Golden Knights. And you know what? Now that Winnipeg's out and the chance for the Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup for the first time in 25 years is gone, we should all get on the backs of the Vegas Golden Knights and ride this thing out because, I mean, there's no better alternative right now than the Vegas Golden Knights. It's the feel-good story right now, and I think they should win it. I mean, I really do. I really support that, and I think it would be quite the feel-good story. That's it for this NHL segment. We'll be right back. After this, we'll talk NBA. On the other side, stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. We've reached a point in the program now where we want to talk about the NBA and the 2018 NBA playoffs. It's been quite a roller coaster thus far. Let's get you caught up on where the two series stand right now that are left remaining. First up, you have the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors, a matchup of 1 versus 2 on the west side. And to no surprise that should be anybody, the series is all deadlocked at 2 games apiece. The Houston Rockets coming back in a big way, 95-92 victors last night to tie this series at 2 games apiece. On the road, mind you, in Golden State. Golden State had not lost in the previous 16 straight home playoff dates. It was James Harden with 30, Chris Paul with 27 to lead the Houston Rockets to the 95-92 victory. Like I say, this series is deadlocked at 2 apiece, and it is now a best of 3. Game 5 will go Thursday, May the 24th at 9 o'clock in Houston. Game 6, Saturday, May the 26th at 9 o'clock in Golden State. And then, if necessary, Game 7 will go Monday, May the 28th at 9 o'clock in Houston. Switching over now to your Eastern Conference side, you have the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. This one has been a really back-and-forth affair, as well as the Boston Celtics took the first 2 in commanding fashion at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 108-83 and 107-94 respectively in the 2 games. But it was Cleveland, massive pushback, led by LeBron James and company, obviously. Cleveland taking both games at home, 116-86, a blowout in Game 3, and a 111-102 Game 4 victory. It sees now this series shift to a best of 3, with 2 out of the 3 coming in Boston. That could play a huge advantage to the Celtics, who have not lost at this point in the postseason. At home, they are 9-0. Game 5 goes tonight at 8:30 in Boston. Celtics and the Cavs. Game 6 would then go Friday, May the 25th at 8:30 in Cleveland. And then if necessary, it goes that way Sunday, May 27th, 8:30 in Boston between the Celtics and the Cavs. I mean, what can't you love about the NBA and the way the Final Four is set? I mean, you got the two beasts of the East. You got the Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics. They're really going toe-to-toe, and it's punch for punch right now. And meanwhile, you got the exact thing on the other side with the Western Conference Final between the Houston Rockets and Golden State Warriors. It's been just an absolute unbelievable NBA playoffs, and I don't know about you guys as viewers, but you gotta love it, man. It's just fantastic stuff. But yeah, we look forward to updating you on how it shook out, and we'll tee up the NBA Finals for you at this point next week on TST right here to be episode 31 at that point. But yeah, so that wraps our NBA segment for this week's episode. We're going to take one break, and then we'll come back with your MLB and Toronto Blue Jays report. Stick around for that. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. We want to get you updated finally on the MLB story and your Toronto Blue Jays report. Unfortunately, it's not all great news for the Toronto Blue Jays as they look very they look like they need a lot of improvement, and if something doesn't happen fast, this season could be headed for a free fall sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, there's a lot of questions that continue to arise. But you know what? Hey, we're there till the end with this Blue Jays team, and we'll go down with the ship if it starts to sink, because that's what we do and that's who we are. But yes, let's wrap the week that was for your Toronto Blue Jays. First up, it was a second of a 2-game set in New York against the New York Mets. Jays exacting a measure of revenge, winning 12-1, splitting the 2-game set after dropping the first game 12-2. J.A. Happ was a one-man wrecking crew. He struck out 10, and he also went 2 for 3 at the plate to lead the Blue Jays to a massive 12-1 victory over the New York Mets. Jays then starting a 4-game set at the Rogers Center against the visiting Oakland Athletics. Unfortunately, it was not the Jays' night tonight. On that night, Athletics designated hitter Chris Davis goes 4 for 4 with a home run, 2 RBIs. He had 3 runs scored as the A's take the opener, crushing the Jays 10-5. In the second of the 4-game set, Dustin Fowler hit his first career home run. He also added a tie-breaking RBI double in the 7th, leading the A's to a 3-1 win. Josh Lucas struck out 7 in 3 2/3 innings after Brett Anderson left with a strained shoulder to start the second inning. He would lead the way for the Athletics as they come out on top of the Blue Jays. 3-1 was the final. Moving on now to the third game of this 4-game set. Jays taking a 4-0 lead into the 8th inning, looking to get their first win of the 4-game series. Sam Gaviglio tossing 5 1/3 scoreless innings, striking out 6. He looked very impressive. Tyler Clippard would surrender, though, a grand slam to Chad Pinder in the 8th inning, giving the Athletics a 5-4 lead and the ball game as they would hold on for the 5-4 victory. They take the first 3 against the Blue Jays. Athletics then looking for the sweep on the Sunday, and they get it in the form of a 9-2 victory. Daniel Mengden pitching 7 innings of 2-hit ball. The A's would score 4 in the 5th inning and 6th inning to complete the 4-game sweep of the Jays. Jays have lost 12 of 15 at the Rogers Center, including 6 straight. Unfortunately, yes, a 4-game losing streak for your Toronto Blue Jays. They would have a much-needed day off on Monday as they would prep for the opening game of a 3-game set against the visiting Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which came into the Rogers Center this past Tuesday. And there was the Jays breaking a 4-game losing streak, a 5-3 victory over the Angels. Kendrys Morales hitting a 2-run home run as the Jays put up a 5 spot in the bottom of the first inning. They hold on to snap that 4-game losing streak as mentioned. J.A. Happ was once again very impressive. He tossed 7 effective innings, striking out 5. He improves his record to 6-3 on the season. As we switch over now to your Major League Baseball standings, we start in the American League with the AL East. It's the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox in a dead heap in the top spot there, as you see the New York Yankees at 31-14, Red Sox at 33-15. You have the Toronto Blue Jays in the third spot, tied with the Tampa Bay Rays at 20. Jays at 23-25, Rays at 22-24, both 10 games behind. You have Baltimore at 15-33. They are 18 games behind both the Yankees and the Red Sox. In the AL Central, you have the Cleveland Indians. They have a one-game advantage over the Minnesota Twins. They sit at 23-23 and even 500. You have the Detroit Tigers at 20-28. They are 4 games behind. Kansas City at 15-33, 9 behind. And the White Sox at 14-31, 8.5 back of the Indians. And finally, in the AL West, you have the Houston Astros. They are 31-18. They hold a 2-game lead over the Seattle Mariners at 28-19. LA Angels at 26-22, 4.5 back of the Houston Astros. You have the Oakland Athletics at 25-23, 5.5 back, and then the Texas Rangers far out of it, 19-31, 12.5 back of the Astros. And then switching over now to your National League standings, we have the Atlanta Braves leading the NL East, 29-18, 1.5 better than the Philadelphia Phillies at 27-19. Nationals at 26-21, 3 back. Mets at 24-20, 3.5 back, and then the Miami Marlins at 18-30. They are 11.5 behind. Milwaukee leading the NL Central by 2.5 games over the Cardinals at 30-19. St. Louis at 26-20. Cubs at 25-20. Pittsburgh at 26-21. The logjam there. And Cincinnati Reds at 17-32. They are 13 behind the Milwaukee Brewers. And then in the NL West, it's a logjam up top between the Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Colorado at 26-23, Arizona 25-23, a half game behind. You have the San Francisco Giants with a 1.5 game lead over the Dodgers for third, 24-25. Dodgers at 21-27, very disappointing, and the San Diego Padres at 20-30. They are 6.5 games back of the Colorado Rockies. As we look at your upcoming Blue Jays skedule for this week, they could continue their 3-game set against the LA Angels of Anaheim tonight at 7:07. Tyler Skaggs will take the mound for the Angels, while Aaron Sanchez will counter for the Blue Jays. On Thursday, May the 24th, at 12:37 matinee affair, you have Nick Tropiano against Marco Estrada for the Blue Jays. And then the Jays will start a 3-game set at the Phillies in Philadelphia on Friday, May the 25th, Saturday, May the 26th, and then Sunday, May the 27th. For the Phillies in this 3-game set, you'll see Zach Eflin, Aaron Nola, and Nick Pivetta. While on the Jays side, you'll see Sam Gaviglio, Joe Biagini, and J.A. Happ. And then finally, the Jays will then start a 3-game set at the Boston Red Sox. That'll start on Monday, May the 28th, and run through Wednesday, May the 30th. Note the start time for Monday, May the 28th. It's a 1:05 start as David Price will take on Aaron Sanchez. On Tuesday, May the 29th, Rick Porcello will take on Marco Estrada. And then Wednesday, May the 30th, the pitching matchup is still to be announced. That's all for your Toronto Blue Jays report for this week's episode of TST. We'll take one final break. We'll come back on the other side and we'll wrap the show. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for tuning in to another wonderful episode of TST Total Sports Talk. Felt really good about this one, and I continue to do so on each and every episode, week after week of TST Total Sports Talk. Like I said, if there is anything that you guys want me to cover or talk about, if you want to be a guest on the show, drop me a line, and I'll do my best to get you in. Get your league in, get your team in, and cover it right here on the program week after week. I'll do my absolute best. I'm a one-man crew here, so I really try my hardest to make sure I include whatever's relevant and whatever's important to you, the viewer. So, like I said, drop me a line if there's something that you want to see covered on a weekly basis right here on TST. But I'm wrapping this week's episode number 30, for TST Total Sports Talk. Andrew Rogers signing off, and we'll see you next week. Take care, folks. Peace.